I'm going to whistle again. He's the Chief Operating Officer of Turnpoint USA.
The other way. That way.
Back. All right. Kelly got to stand up there. So. But anyway, he's a seventh generation Arizona, and not many people can say that. And he's going to deliver his talk to us in Russian. I understand he is fluent in Russian, so that would be quite an accomplishment. And he's also married with 3 children. Right? And so, without further ado, I'd like to turn the mic over to Tyler Bowyer.
All right, well, thank you. This is great. You know what they always say? It's great to be surrounded, because no matter which direction you shoot, you always hit somebody. So it's great to have everyone around you. So, hi, guys, over here. My name is Tyler Bowyer. I am, as you mentioned, the National Committeeman for Arizona. The male side, we have a female as well. Her name is Lori Klein. If you've ever met Lori, she's a wonderful human being. Corbin, yeah, Lori Klein Corbin. You know, I'm so happy to be up here in Lakeside. And the reason why is because once upon a time, my mom lived up here with my grandparents and my great-grandparents. My great-grandpa was once upon a time the foreman at the mill that was in Overguard before the environmentalists shut everything down. And I think Sylvia's family knows all about that. And it is just such a special place to our family to be up here. And so even though I look a little bit city slicker-ish, I definitely have roots. Right, I got the skinny jeans. I promise I have the rural grit that's in me in my blood. Right, that's right. But we have a lot of wonderful people that are here. I'll tell you this is, I wanted to kind of just talk a little bit about today, about the wonderful future that's ahead of us. And my background is that, as it has been said, that I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Turning Point USA. So I get to spend my every day. Is anyone here follow Charlie Kirk at all? You know Charlie? So I get to spend my days down organizing a bunch of young people, right? Herding cats, like we herd cats in Navajo County and Apache County for our committees. But all young people, which is sometimes the hardest thing to do. It's real easy to get a bunch of older people together, right? Dinner, you can dangle that. Pizza isn't as interesting anymore to young people. And so what we do is we spend our days trying to convert everyone as young as possible. Because much like the 60s and 70s produced hippies, today we have hipsters, right? And history often repeats itself. And what we're seeing ahead of ourselves here is a beautiful, beautiful future where we have a lot of young people who are ready to embrace freedom. And we're seeing that on a day-to-day basis. I get a front row seat to that every single day. But what we're teaching people on a daily basis is the constitutional principles that are not currently taught in our schools. In fact, it's the opposite, right? What we're seeing and what we're learning is that outside of these walls, outside of places where you wear cowboy hats, and in inner cities, what's happening is that young people are being taught to hate the Constitution. They're being taught to hate America. They're being taught to hate every value that my forefathers fought for when they came across a mighty ocean to preserve their God-given rights. And so that's what we teach people. That's what we teach kids, right? That's what we teach not just kids, but we have to teach adults now because those kids are becoming adults. Because guess what? I'm 35. Everyone at my work thinks I'm 29. I'm 35. I'm on the old end of millennials now, right? And millennials are getting pretty old. I got a lot of gray hair. A lot of gray hair that comes from the Republican Party here. Senator McCain has half of my head, right? So, but we have to teach these principles. And what are the principles in the Constitution? What is the most important part of the Constitution? I say this all the time, is that the Constitution isn't what gives us our rights, right? Who gives us our rights? God. We know that. But you know who doesn't know that? The Democrats may know. You know, they just want to oppose it, but kids don't know that, right? And our future generations. So what's one thing that you can do today? Well, you can do something like Dwight and Andrea over here do all the time and mentor someone that's just younger than you. They can be 6 months younger than you. They can be 10 years younger than you. They can be your grandkids. They can be your kids. But mentor somebody and teach them what I talk about all the time, which is my favorite part of the Constitution. My favorite part is in Article 4, Section 4, which is the reason why we call ourselves Republicans, which is that the Constitution does guarantee us, here in the United States of America, a Republican form of government in every state. That's something that's pretty cool, right? Do we talk about that? Do we think about that every day? Do we defend it every day? Because that's what's under attack every single day in Washington, D.C. That's what's under attack every single day now in kindergarten classrooms. And so what we have to do is teach and mentor and keep talking about those God-given rights, and that we call ourselves Republicans for a reason. What's the second thing that I love talking with people about? It's the 10th Amendment. What does the 10th Amendment say? The powers that are explicitly delegated to the United States of America, the federal government, are reserved by the states. Those two, meaning the people of the United States, meaning the people of that state. Those two things, those two principles, are the most buried principles that the Democrats do not want young people to hear. Why? Because it spells out freedom. So I get this awesome opportunity to talk about that all the time in my day job. So this week, actually, I'll kind of to carry that over is right now Rand Paul. Did anybody see what Rand Paul was saying from the floor this week? He called the lies that were being spoken by Fauci noble lies of the government, right? And that's what the government always does, is they justify lies. They make these uppity lies trying to explain, and what he was talking about in this case was they've now delivered a vaccine, and people have got the vaccine. Now Fauci's telling people they still have to wear a mask, even though that's not going to make a difference, right? And so they're lying to us. They're telling us lies. Why? Because they want to control you. And so Chairman Tyler mentioned, I served I'm LDS, I served my mission in Russia. That's how I got thrown into politics. Because I lived in Russia, that place sucked. It was terrible. And all the poor people there were miserable. Well, why? Because they crawled out from underneath the rock that was the Soviet Union, where that was what was told to them every single day were noble lies. I actually have kind of a funny story about Rand Paul. Just recently, Rand Paul, you guys won't tell him, will you? We don't have like the White Mountain Independent here or anything, right? Okay, just double checking. So Rand Paul, this is a funny story, it has nothing to do with anything. Rand Paul, has anybody here ever met Rand Paul?
Yes. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's about as tall as Chairman Tyler sitting down. Right? He's pretty short. So he was at a fundraiser here in Phoenix. Please don't tell the story. He'd kill me if he knew I told the story. He was at a fundraiser, and there was a kid that was there at the fundraiser who was extremely tall. Very, very tall. Like maybe twice the height of Rand Paul. This is the reason why Rand Paul will never be president, by the way. You can't be president if you're short. Which is unfortunate.
He's not really president.
Yeah, Joe Biden's not really president. And so there's this tall kid, and so Rand Paul walks up to him, and he looked like he had a little bit of a learning disability, so Rand Paul was absorbing that and trying to be extra nice, and he walks up to him and goes, what, you play basketball? And the kid just gets this gruff look on his face, and he looks down at him and he goes, what, do you play mini golf? But the reason I tell the story is because you do that in Russia, you end up in the gulag, right? Like, we live in an incredible country where, you know, a kid that's 18 years old, right, can tell a U.S. senator that he should be playing mini golf, have zero repercussions, right? Zero. In fact, we encourage it, right? That's an incredible thing. And that's something that we have to realize is that that's what we're giving away. That's what we're looking at in those noble lies that Senator Paul was talking about. Is that if we start buying into those, it won't be very long before we have gulags. It won't be very long before all of us here will be not just proverbially locked up, but we will be physically locked up. And that's something that's very serious, and that you can only understand if you've been somewhere like I have. And again, 7th generation Arizona, I'm not the Russian mafia, not Russian collusion here. I just studied it. All right, lastly, I just wanted to say this. So, does anybody here actually know what the Republican National Committee does?
I do.
This is what I told them when I went there. So I went to my first meeting in January, right? So I just got elected this last election cycle. I went to my first meeting and I told them, everybody hates you. I hate you. And I'm now a member of the Republican National Committee. I don't like it. So I'm like the most anti-RNC member out of all RNC members. But what the job is these are the people that decide where all the money is spent that gets raised by state. And Arizona has been not a great benefactor of that in years past. So one of my jobs is to make sure that Arizona becomes a very important place for the future. I'm pretty conservative. I was Maricopa County Republican Party chair. Senator McCain and Senator Flake hated me with a passion. I didn't ask for it, they just naturally hated me. We hosted Trump for the first time in Phoenix. That added to the hatred. But what people have to understand is the principle we just talked about, right? This is what the RNC needs to understand. So as soon as I got on the RNC, one of my demands that I made to the Republican National Committee chairwoman, Ronna McDaniel, was we need a grassroots committee. And so I'm happy to announce, I actually haven't announced this at all, I got appointed as co-chair of the first ever grassroots committee of the RNC, which is a big deal. And the entire purpose of this, the entire purpose of what we're doing right now is to encourage from the RNC recruit precinct committeemen. The number one thing that everyone in this room can be doing, first and foremost, registering voters, because that's who becomes precinct committeemen. Secondly, recruit precinct committeemen until absolutely every spot is filled. And then what do we get out of precinct committeemen? We get candidates and workers and everyone. That's how we win elections. That's how we're able to communicate quickly. I mean, I know we all know that, but is your precinct full? Do you have the best possible precinct committeeman in your precinct? That is my plea. That is what we're doing nationwide, is using Arizona as hopefully a great example of what we need to be doing to register voters and to recruit precinct committeemen. You do that. So the question is, what are we doing on Navajo Nation? We should be recruiting precinct committeemen, right? That's the way you get candidates. That's the way you get school board positions filled. Just like Chairman Ward said. That's the way that you get the best possible outcome in 2022 and 2024. Join me in doing that. I know I'm over time, so I'm going to stop. But I appreciate it. Thank you all so much for everything that you do. Thank you so much to both Chairwoman Ward, to Chairman Tyler, to Chairman Bond, Sylvia, we appreciate it, and everyone else that's here in the committee. We appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for all you do for the party.